There we go. All right. Are we able to get my screen share up as well? So we're good to go. There we go. All right, everyone. So welcome to this first session of the MENA GameTech Day 2021. My name, as you might have heard by now or seen on screen, is Gunnar Grosch. I am a developer advocate at Amazon Web Services, and I'm based in the Nordics. So very excited to be here today to talk to you about game development in the cloud. So first, just short about me that I didn't mention before. I have 20 plus years in the IT industry by now. I am a big proponent of serverless, so serverless first in most of the things I build and have built. I also focus a lot on resiliency, reliability, and chaos engineering as topics. My background is in all sorts of companies, from startups to both public and private sector companies. But what I try to talk a lot about is my experience being in the AWS community as both a member, a community leader, an AWS hero for a while before I joined AWS, where I am today. And my gaming life, I am a retro gamer. Looking at the shelves behind me, you might recognize one or two old consoles or computers. But I do play some new games as well. My favorite game right now is Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which I play a lot with my kids. All right, but now, no more about me. Let's get into the topic. So developers are imagining future games that delight players and require the infrastructure and the solutions to support their vision. And they need servers that can scale with tens of millions of players anywhere in the world, and databases that can process terabytes to petabytes of ever-changing data. They need analytic solutions that can access that data with millisecond latency, and machine learning that can translate into new immersive gameplay. And players expect gamers to have regular and compelling updates. So developers need faster time to market and more efficient workflows when building the next new game or moving workloads to the cloud. So AWS is here to help with that. So what is AWS GameTech? Well, whether you're a team of one or a team of 1,000, only one thing really matters: making a game that players want to play. How you get there, that is the real question. So that's how we are here to help. So AWS GameTech, it's a team at AWS that is laser focused on the gaming industry. And I know they like to say that they're maniacally obsessed with games. So it's the collection of all the products from across Amazon and AWS that offer solutions for every stage of game development. So AWS GameTech provides robust, scalable solutions for every stage in your game's lifecycle, regardless of the size of your studio. So with AWS, with Twitch, and our managed game services, we're striving to be the most customer-obsessed company in the games industry. At GameTech, we group the solutions into these 4 categories that we will dig into what your team then needs. So we want to reduce downtime and save costs by improving gameplay and minimizing latency with backend infrastructure that's closer to your players. We want to decrease operational costs during low demand periods using serverless architectures and servers that use automatic scaling. And with the infrastructure of AWS, studios can pay only for the resources they use instead of investing in servers upfront. And we want you to deploy new game features faster, expand capacity to meet player demand, and reduce fraud and cheating. want you to reduce the amount of building and testing needed to launch your game using automation and managed services that are designed specifically for game workloads. So with over 1 million active customers across 190 countries, now 25 AWS regions and 80 availability zones, and with 5 new regions announced, studios can have new IT resources and have them available in just a few clicks, increasing their agility. And we want to extend the life of your game and keep innovating with services that helps you understand your players and keep the players engaged longer. And with over 180 services now to help support virtually any cloud workload, developers can deprovision servers as needed, enabling them to experiment often and fail fast if a game idea doesn't work out. And we want you to build highly available multiplayer games with global reach, automatic scaling, and intelligent matchmaking. So we provide the core staples of technology infrastructure so studios can focus on developing the engagement with players rather than thinking about that infrastructure. And just to step back a bit, I think a lot of you know about AWS and the cloud, but just if you're new to AWS, a very quick introduction. So Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is a global provider of cloud services. So we help game studios provision the core building blocks of infrastructure. That can be compute, storage, database, networking, security services through an on-demand pay-as-you-go model. So we broadly refer to all of this as the AWS cloud. And there are some points that are really important. Because of that pay-as-you-go pricing with AWS, your studio doesn't have to estimate how much computing resources to provision or pay upfront for computing infrastructure. Instead, with us at AWS, you only pay for the resources you use, much like you would for any type of utility, such as electricity. And the on-demand infrastructure of AWS allows you to spin up new resources where you need them instead of weeks or months you can just spin them up with a few clicks. And this increases the agility of game development and it minimizes latency. So these cost and efficiency benefits, they allow you to experiment at small scale and in multiple iterations without having to risk these upfront investments in buying servers. So the ultimate benefit of using the AWS cloud is that experiment often will also increase the likelihood of finding the right direction for your game to succeed. So you can focus on your core business of creating great games. So having worked with game studios for over 14 years, we've learned that no matter if you're a team of 1 or 1,000, the single most important priority for you is making a game that players want to play. So to help you achieve that, AWS GameTech provides you with a portfolio of managed and core cloud services to help you build faster, run smarter, and grow your games by creating fun, innovative player experience. So video games are deceptively complicated. Whether you're making a AAA console title or a hyper-casual mobile game, your audience doesn't care about the under-the-hood details, but they do care about the experience they're having playing your game. So by the end of this presentation, I hope you'll have a better understanding of how to deliver the best experience to your players using AWS GameTech Solutions, using AWS Cloud. So how to bring your idea to life with servers that can scale to tens of millions of players around the world. And you can use databases that can process terabytes and petabytes of ever-changing data. And what type of analytic solutions you can use to access that data with millisecond latency. And I want you to think about machine learning as well, so that you can speed up the processes and even translate that into new immersive gameplay. So with players expecting games to have regular and compelling updates, we also want you to think about more efficient workflows to enable faster time to market when building your next game or migrating existing workflows. So we won't be able to cover all of this in depth in this presentation, but throughout the day today, you'll see a lot more about this as well. So hundreds of millions of players worldwide play games built on AWS today. And that includes games from companies like Sony, EA, Activision, Blizzard, Supercell, Ubisoft, Nintendo, Zynga, Rovio, and a lot more. And I think it's cool to see Rovio and Supercell, for instance, from the Nordics listed on this page. So we have millions of active users, tens of thousands of partners, and teams of solutions architects around the world. So believe me when I say that your game is in good hands with the AWS GameTech community. So let's talk first about building and building faster. The first key point is app modernization and architecture. So we want you to be able to build secure and efficient infrastructure, run and monitor systems while continually improving processes and procedures. That includes automating changes, responding to events, and defining standards to manage daily operations. And we want you to be able to evaluate your architectures and implement that at scale. So you can use IT and computing resources efficiently while avoiding these unnecessary costs. So you can select the right resource types, monitor the performance of your resources, and control where your money is spent on your game. And we want to help you deliver operational excellence. That is ensuring that your workloads perform correctly, that they perform consistently, and that they quickly recover from any type of failure that can happen in a distributed system. And we want you to think about recovery planning and handling change. And then we have game production in the cloud, focusing on how to help you be more efficient and have a faster time to market when you develop your games. And game production in the cloud means having everything from your workstations, your version control, and your build pipelines available to you and to your team. So, for instance, you can create virtual workstations that are secure, durable, and best of all, highly scalable. So allowing your artists and editors to work on multiple large files. And we have solutions ready to help you build distributed pipelines and a cloud build pipeline that reduces the security risk of distributed hardware and intellectual property across remote employee environments. And lastly, now with the new Amazon EC2 Mac instances, you're able to build and test iOS and macOS games in AWS Cloud. So you can build them, you can test them, you can package them, and you can sign them without having that Mac infrastructure yourself. Instead, you provision them in the cloud. So game production in the cloud is a very important workload. So it helps you focus on being more efficient and having that faster time to market. And let's talk about Quantic Dream, the makers of the interactive storytelling games like the Noma Soul, Indigo Prophecy, and Heavy Rain. They took control over remote working using AWS this year. When COVID-19 hit Europe, long-term remote working plans suddenly became the top priority, both for recruitment goals as they expanded into PC as well as PlayStation development, and also for empowering their artists, their animators, their developers, and the designers who were now working remotely in Paris. So it wasn't feasible or practical to distribute the studio's hardware among dozens of individual employees' homes. So faced with this dilemma, Quantic Dream consulted with us at AWS to find a technical solution that would get the entire studio working and collaborating from home as quickly as possible. And the solution was building their own client and serverless backend using Amazon API Gateway and AWS Lambda, facilitating connections to cloud workstation that they ran on Amazon EC2 instances using nice DCV streaming. And yeah, that's a bit technical perhaps, but the end result is that the majority of Quantic Dream's employees and collaborators are now able to work remotely in acceptable to even very good conditions. So the CTO, Jean-Charles Perrier, said that the results were much better than anyone anticipated. So the setup has additionally added a layer of security to their project assets and intellectual property, which was a crucial consideration for Quantic Dream as well. Next, we want you to run your workloads faster, and that consists of several different parts as well. First, we have game operations IT, and that is how you operate and manage a game using LiveOps. So you want to experience zero back-end downtime during your rolling updates and continually be able to monitor infrastructure health to deliver this positive player experience. And you want to have version management to utilize back-end version management via APIs to create seamless updates of game versions and to run A/B tests to discover how infrastructure changes impact gameplay and tune them accordingly. And of course, you need game development operations to access admin consoles and configurations while establishing that infrastructure deployability and repeatability using cloud formations and CloudWatch logs and using metrics, events, and anomaly detection, and a lot more. And next we have game server hosting. And AWS GameTech has a specific service that does this for you, and that's called GameLift, where you can use that, or of course you can build and run your own services, or you can do a mix of the two. So GameLift provides you with these low-cost game servers with very low latency, high availability, and flexibility as well. More on that in a short bit. And then the last one I want to focus on here is game analytics and big data. So with that, you are able to take the pulse of player behavior, track operational resources, and improve marketing executions. So we have the tools you need to ensure that your game continues to perform. And when your game hits big, AWS can then scale to meet the volume and velocity of the data generated, all while paying only for what you need. So rest assured that your game is in good hands with AWS highly redundant networking, low latency, and high throughput. So for the game server hosting and multiplayer versions, let's look at another example. Some of the world's most successful game companies already use GameLift for their games, including Ubisoft, the makers of Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, Just Dance, and the Tom Clancy series. And a number of years ago, Ubisoft was preparing to launch the sequel to Watch Dogs and wanted to shore up some technical issues they were having with peer-to-peer connections on their multiplayer technology platform, Storm. So Unisoft moved its Storm platform and several online multiplayer games to AWS GameLift, which has then simplified the management and increased reliability and scalability for them across many different titles. And Backend Services, they are really the nuts and bolts around building great engagement and social features in your games. For example, if you want to build leaderboards, player progression, social functionality, and handling player identity and authentication. And we have multiple different options for how to host your backend and design it, from serverless to containers and running EC2 instances. And we have many additional services that can be used to then enhance these in-game features, like using Cognito or Poly, for instance, for speech. So let's look at another example. Building on the success of Nonstop Night 1, which notched up 15 million player downloads in its lifetime. Copla Games took 1.5 years and more than 10 prototypes to develop Non-Stop Nights 2. And in developing the new game, the studio know how easy it had been for players to cheat in the previous title, which was client authoritative. And since players could easily manipulate their data in an offline game, the team had a lot of design restrictions and were not able to make it as competitive as they perhaps had liked. So Copla changed this with Non-Stop Night 2 by building the logic and rules on competitive tournaments to be determined by the server instead of the client itself. So rather than install and maintain databases manually, they used Amazon RDS, Amazon Aurora, and MongoDB with AWS Elastic Load Balancing over 2 sets of live servers and multiple development and stable servers for testing purposes. So with this setup, they were able to keep the cooperative elements of the game, while also creating a competitive tournament-based gameplay that was fair and fun for players as well, without cheating. One of the biggest benefits of running the game in the cloud is the ease of speed and scaling. And a recent peak saw triple the number of active players compared to normal. Having already set up the infrastructure and scalers to respond, everything went smoothly for them. And then we have the final part, which is growing your game. And this consists of many different parts. We're going to focus on player progression, machine learning and AI, and cross-Amazon engagement. So player progression is about enabling players to sorry about that. Player progression is built on AWS reliable infrastructure, enabling developers to authenticate, store, and scale data in purpose-built databases as the studio grows on both high usage and low usage data. So leveraging services such as DynamoDB, developers can use that player state data like levels, stats, names, or anything really involved with the player, letting them progress in a safe and scalable environment. And developers also have the flexibility to store the data in different ways that are best suited for their specific needs, such as storing scores per player IDs, while also bucketing into top scores displays. So with fully managed and scalable storage of any amount of data, developers only have to pay for what they use, while giving players that seamless sign-in experience to access their game progress and stats from anywhere. And analytics and machine learning, they are a very important and broad workload today for AWS GameTech and should be for your game. Analytics is all about using data to answer the big questions in your games around user acquisition, engagement, and monetization. And we have a game analytics pipeline that's completely flexible and tailored to your needs. So if you're using any third-party analytics or attribution vendors, you can also use this pipeline to ingest that data for further analysis. And there are some really creative uses of machine learning that help you prevent fraud in your game, run more effective quality assurance, as well as predicting churn, spend, and player behavior, and making dynamic content for your players. So Rovio from Finland, their Angry Birds has won awards, broken records, and really redefined how casual gaming and what that means for hundreds of millions of gamers. With additional game launches in the Angry Birds universe, Rovio works to maintain its reputation for fun, engaging, and highly entertaining games. And with their latest title, Angry Birds Dream Blast launched, the Rovio team wanted to create a tight, engaging, and satisfying game that keeps players coming back for more. To do this, Rovio uses machine learning to help understand the playability of the game, as well as bringing churn and lifetime value into their targeting. And in the past, Rovio would put new levels into their game each week, and only then would learn and iterate the player experience over a period of 2 to 6 weeks. With machine learning doing the heavy lifting to predict playability, Rovio's players get the best experience from the moment the levels are released. So Rovio is also delivering a customized game for each individual using machine learning to understand what different types of players want from that game. So in conclusion, we want to help you to build your games, to run your games, and to grow your games. And we do that by helping you build, deploy, and scale cross-platform, and to collect and store meaningful data, to build immersive, ambitious game experience that keeps your players on playing your game. And we want to help you reach millions by distributing and monetizing your games with Amazon. So if you're starting from scratch in terms of familiarity with the cloud, I highly recommend you to begin with getting started with GameTech Online Tutorial. This is a course specifically for business decision makers and technical roles who work in game development. And it's a self-paced tutorial in about 90 minutes. And finally, I just want to point out that we've recently announced the AWS Middle East region in the works, and it will open in the first half of 2022. And this new region will, of course, have 3 availability zones. And this is the second AWS region in the Middle East. So with this, we'll have even closer to the Middle East users for the game that you are developing. And with that, my time is out. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy this MENA GameTech day today. I know I will. And do join me later today, where we'll look at how to build a serverless scoreboard for your game. Thank you very much.